point though is that beer is going to become very
C and then A, B, C
right.
subcategories of B and C.
It's actually a complete.
Okay, no. So picking up from Rabbi Yeshua, I'm going to say it in a way that's going to sound confusing. But if you think about it, it's exactly what Rabbi Yeshua is holding. He's saying like this. He's saying, what is chayv and biur in this chavis? What's chayv and biur? It's very simple. Only, and he looks at each vegetable as what I call, this is my term, right? My term, trademarking, conceptual grafting. Okay, conceptual. You can use it. Conceptual grafting. Okay. What does conceptual grafting mean?
G-R-A-P-H.
Grafting. G-R-A-F-T.
Like in agriculture.
Because what happens in agriculture when you graft together? Physically, you put together two things. He's saying conceptually. What do you have in front of you? I have a leek carrot onion, a carrot onion leek, and an onion carrot leek. All right.
Right. He has a leek he has
a whole new idea.
Plus carrot plus onion.
Right. So what is it? What min is it now? What's the min?
It's a separate min. It's not an original min.
Exactly right. Exactly. It's a separate min.
Awesome.
So the only time it can be chayv and beer is when?
It's when it's
one min.
When all the three elements to be
together.
Exactly. That's Rabbi Yeshua's position. So that's why he can hold that the first one's not chayiv, right? The first one's mutter to eat, but the last one will be chayv and biur. Because he has a whole weirdo, abstract notion of what min means. Ravina Amliel says, what's a min? The min is, it has to be a leek, 100% pure leek, right? Rav Elazar says, no. Rav Elazar says that we treat it like normal tam. So as long as the tam, beer, as long as it's something else, it's fine. Rav Yeshua is a completely different idea. He actually looks at the leek, not like Rav Elazar who says it's got tam in it. He actually looks at the leek as a composite. It's a composite of leek, carrot, and onion. So if that's the case, then you have to evaluate the properties of the min. So as long as there's some reality of shvius in it, it's not chayv and beer. But once the onion is chayv and beer, now everything else in it is what? Also chayv and beer. And now this composite min is chayv and beer. He has a whole different idea of how he looks at beer. It's, in my opinion, revolutionary.
It's a tonight. All
right, so Nun Beis Zaman Aleph Pesachim Ravina. So what does Ravina say? He says, what's the machlokas in the Mishnah? It's based on this machlokas. Ready?
That means they're not arguing about that?
No, the argument is based on this machlokas tonight, which is?
Tzan ochlin b'tamarin ad sheyachla ha'achron.
Shebetzar. Okay, so now,
Shebetzar.
all right, so again, beer. What's beer based on? When does the fruit become? When does the produce become usher?
On a certain date.
No, forget the date. That's what we do today.
Animals.
Okay. So now, what the Gemara says, b'tzmarim. So you can eat dates until when? Ad sheyichala ha'acharon shebetzor, until the last dates are consumed in soar. Why soar?
They're the most.
Right. So that's a common thing. If you look at Rashi. Oh, look at Rashi. 3 lines on the bottom. Right. Rashi says ochlim b'tzmarim b'chol eretz Yehuda. Now. Anyone know what that means? B'chol eretz Yehuda?
It's only 3 zones.
How do you know? So basically, if I go with the Tzohar and I see there are no dates left, I look at the date trees. There's nothing left on the trees. They're bare, right? There's nothing left on the ground. They're all They're all gone. At that point in time, I am I am now the dates. Any dates that I have left in my house are now chayv and biur. Is that clear? Everyone good with that? Okay. Okay. So what? Go on. Rav Shimon Gamliel Omer.
Rav Shimon Gamliel Omer. Ochlin al shel bein ha kifin. Ein ochlin al shebein ha shitzin.
Okay. So what does that mean? Rashi.
Oh boy.
Why oh boy? It's not a bad Rashi. Top Rashi.
No one's reading.
Derech declaim.
Dekolim.
Lahayos be'ikram.
Kotzim. Saviv. So in these palm trees, what do they have surrounding all throughout them? Thorns. Okay. And that's what shitzim is. Alin shalo.
Asuyin kisidron.
Kimin. Oh, kisidron. I'm sorry.
Kisidron, kimin, kafos.
Kapos. Tomorrow. All right. So now what happens? You have like these bundles. Okay. These bundles of dates. Okay. And so why do we care? Ukasharuach menashev hatmarim noflin. Right. So when the wind blows, what happens to the dates? They fall. Okay. V'nisharin be'osan kifin ulamata b'shitzin. So what happens? All right. So some of them. What happens to some of them? Some of them. Well, they'll remain. Right.
And thorns.
Right. Some land on thorns, and some just remain between the leaves. Okay. So now, which ones are the animals going to
Oh,
eat?
you don't need the one that
Let's get to tachlis here. What's the second sheet is saying? When is Zman Kalu for tomorrow?
when the ones that are stuck on a tree in a place where the animals can eat it are gone.
Correct. But if when the dates are stuck to the thorns, the animals they can't get to it. Okay. So therefore, according to that shita, if I go to Tzoar and I look around, then what do I see? Dates stuck onto thorns. Right. I see. Look at the trees, and there's still dates there. Right. It's still considered color. All right. So what's machlokas? Simple question. What's machlokas? Do you say it goes by when there are no dates whatsoever, or do you say no? As long as there's no dates that the animals are able to eat, right? Right. As long as there's no accessible dates, right? So then it's considered color. But if the dates are inaccessible to the animals, then that's considered. If the dates are inaccessible to the animals, right? Then it's considered color. They're not, because the animals won't eat them.
Well, you could either.
Does it mean there's nothing left in the field whatsoever? And what's going to determine that? The animal's consuming it. But the essence is there's nothing left.
No, whoa.
Yes. The animals. The animals are that which the animals bring that about. But the point is, what does V'lim Techa tell you? Nothing is left in the field. Or is V'lim Techa a shear? Meaning that is whatever the animals normally consume. But they're not going to consume dates that are stuck to a thorn.
I didn't get your first sign at all, sorry.
So the Mishnah, the next case is going to be really, is very difficult. And if you like Metzias Machlokasim, you can really get sunk in this. Yeah, like a factual machlokas, it becomes very, very bad.
Can you get
I figured out.
How do you say
I'll use the word. I figured out a conceptual way to wiggle out of the problem. All right, because otherwise you're really in trouble if you can't wiggle out of this. So I'll present the issue to you guys, and you guys are working on it today and tomorrow.
The whole every Masechta.
So the Mishnah is Parak Tes and Shvius, Mishnah Beis and Gimel. Go read. Shalosh Aratzos. Slow. So there's three lands for beer. Okay, Yehuda, Aver Yarden, and the Galil. All right, we're all familiar basically what those are.
Yeah.
Yehuda is the central southern chunk. The Galil is the northern chunk, and Aver Yarden is the eastern chunk. Okay. All right, and there are three zones for beer. Now. So what does that mean?
3 for 3, 1 for 1.
Well, this will mean okay. So now you got a real interesting thing.
Right.
Right.
You said
So
10
you have,
10 this week.
but I wouldn't say it that way. Although I agree with you. I'll say it this way. It's a little more precise. Each section has in it 3 subsections. Okay, or each land is divided up into 3.
Okay.
All right.
It's 9 parts, really.
That's what he said. But it is, but not. You'll see why it gets so bad when you say that. But for now, just do it my way. Okay. Each one is broken up into 3. So in the Galil, you're going to have 3 subzones, Yehuda 3, and then we got into. See, so what do you have? So you have. So now we're gonna get the borders. All right. Mikfar Hanania, Ulamalan, and above that.
I don't know what I'm saying now. I don't know.
Kol she'enim megadol shekamen galil elyon, Mikfar Hanania Matan, Kol she'enim megadol shekamen galil tachton Tveria, Ha'emek. So what does that mean? Who cares? Point is that there are 3. It's irrelevant for us. There are 3. It's describing the 3 geographical areas. There's 3 zones in that upper zone. Okay.
Wait. Isn't it like every other Darius way to ask a question in the Mishnah? Like, why would you?
No,
place
it's
words?
the next one. No, it's not. It's telling. No, it's important.
Who cares?
You'll see why. Look at the next one. Now here's the important one. Guys, Ubihuda. This I want you to focus on. Ahar, Shefela, Ve, Ha'emek. So what does Yehuda have?
Hahar Shefla V'Emek.
Which is
low plains.
Mountain, plain,
Mountain, plains,
good.
valleys.
So it has 3 things: mountain, right?
Those aren't areas.
Plain.
No, that's the question.
And well, you'll get that in a second.
Plain.
All right.
It's flat.
Now, what's it?
I know.
So the Mishnah describes there's Shvelas Lud, there's Shvelas Adaram, and there's a Har. Now, there's a Har. The Har Shalak Har Melech. The Har Melech is going to be very important. What's Har Melech?
Yerushalayim.
Close. It's a set of mountains that are in the Yerushalayim area. I can't explain this other than to say that back then, it seems like agriculturally, Har Melech had a very high concentration of produce. Whereas today, we look at the Galil and the Golan as being areas where, especially the Galil, seems to be much more fertile. And it seems like back then, Har Melech, this is going to play a role later on, Har Melech, there was an abundant amount of produce. The highest concentration of overall produce in all of Israel was in this mountain range near Yerushalayim. Okay, is that clear?
Do we know where it is?
No, sort of. It's hard. It's like this. I'd say it's like the Judean hills. the best way to describe it, which is like outside of Yerushalayim, which today is kind of deserty.
Yeah.
But it seems like according to the Mishnah that was an area of a high concentration of produce.
So why do we say that the Judeans?
Ochlim b'chol achas ve'achas ad sheyichla yochla
Yichala
ha'achron.
Shabbat. So what does that mean?
The last one of the three in the major
Okay,
section.
so if I'm in the Galil, remember this from the first case. If I'm in the Galil, right, and I'm eating oranges, and in Yehuda, the oranges that grow in Yehuda now become chayv and beer. Does that affect my Galil oranges? No. Okay, so it's an interesting thing because normally, how would you have approached this initially?
Most like Tsar.
Right, you would have said Soar is like the barometer. Wherever the main area should be. What? It's the main, or Soar was where the most amount of dates grew. So how would you normally, you would think you normally determine beer based on wherever, when is your fruit now usser? Whenever the biggest area that produces that specific min becomes empty of it. But you see, the Torah says no. The Chazal say no, there's three different zones.
Well, maybe
So
it's saying when all zones become usher, it's like one.
No, that's not what it's saying. I wish. It would be a lot easier. It's saying that if I'm in the Galil, the Tom, don't ask that yet. But if I'm in, you'll see that's going to become a problem
It
later.
doesn't come beer until the last one of the
I thought it was
zones
funny
of
when he
Galil
said-
is beer.
In Galil, right. So, okay, so Binam is right. Binam is right. Now, 1 second. What about our subzones? What about the subzones?
You go with the last with them.
You go by the last one, right? Okay, but 1 second. What question should you immediately ask on that? You're so smart.
But it's in my-
Well, get the facts down. Make sure everyone understands. There are three zones in Eretz Yisrael. There's Galil, Yehuda, and Eber Yarden. Okay. Now, if I'm in the Galil, right, and I'm eating my Galil orange, but Yehuda oranges become chayv and beer, what does that do to my Galil orange? Zero. Now, if I'm let's say I'm in the Galil itself, and I'm in Galil zone A, okay, and there's Galil zone B and Galil zone C. What's the halacha? When is my orange chayv and beer? When the last one of the three zones is not chayv and beer.
Why are there any subzones at all?
Thank you. That's the question. Why are there subzones?
You're like one entity anyway.
There's no purpose for the subzones. So now that the first question on the table is, there doesn't seem to be any practical nafkamina whatsoever to have subzones. What do you have subzones for? Now watch this. Rav Shimon Omer.
Rabbi Shimon Omer, Lo Imru Shalosh Artzot Elo Yehuda. Oh man, Shalosh Artzot Elo Yehuda V'Sha'ar Kol Artzot Kahar Hamelech V'Chol Artzot Skachas L'Zeitim.
Now forget the last part about.
Did you just say for olives and tomatoes?
Yeah, that's a separate.
It's one
That's
entity?
separate. Don't worry about that. That's a separate issue. Okay, so what does Rav Shimon
That's
say?
fear-old.
Rav Shimon says as follows. Rav Shimon says no. He says when we talk about three zones, all we mean is that in Yehuda, okay.
Yeah.
That again, there's something bizarre about that because only Yehuda, which already means he's saying what?
He's begging the question. He's begging the question.
Right, Yehuda's different. So he doesn't have three major zones. He only has one zone, Yehuda. Okay, Yehuda has three subzones.
Those subzones are Galil.
No,
No?
but the Galil and Yarden go by what? The last stuff in Har Hamelech, which is Har Hamelech. Okay, so again, let's be clear.
But it's Tsar.
So
What?
One
It's
zone.
like Tsar.
But exactly.
So
So Rav Shimon, on the one hand, Rav Shimon's beautiful. Rav Shimon, forget Eretz Yehuda for a second. Rav Shimon's beautiful. Rav Shimon says, when you're in the Galil and the Eber Yarden, what do you go by?
So.
Okay, what does Rav Shimon say? Rav Shimon says as follows. Rav Shimon says, normally, how do you determine when I'm chayv and beer? If I live in Tiberia, when all the stuff is kalu in Yerushalayim, right? Because that's the biggest area of produce.
Maybe zone C applies.
Rav Shimon, there is no zone Galil and zone Eber Yarden. Because when are you chayv and beer? If I'm eating my orange in the Galil, the second they run out of oranges in Har Melech, I'm now chayv and beer. All right? The only, I hate to use this word, factual exception to that is Yehuda. Yehuda has three subzones.
Oh.
Right? So we're saying, now we got a big problem.
Yerushalayim is where?
In the middle of Yehuda. All right?
It's
What-
the middle. It's in B
subzone
or it's in
C
A, B, and C.
What do you mean? What's B?
Like it intersects A, B, and C.
All right, so just to review. All right, so the Mishnah has a machlokas between Tanakama and Rosh Shimon. Tanakama holds that Eretz Yisrael is divided up into three major zones, right? And each major zone is divided up into three subzones. Rosh Shimon says, no, there's only one zone, Yehuda. Yehuda has three subzones. But the Galil and the Yarden go by what? Zman Kalu in Har, right, physically the last location, Har Melech, okay?
Har Melech is just B.
It's just B, right, here. Okay? Oh. So go back to the Gemara now. So See where?
Mizu. I wish I could read it. So
Be'eretz Yisrael chaluka zu mizu
Le'inyan beer she'ein zo somchas al
zu
mishakaluba
mishakaluba.
v'afal pi shelo kalu b'cha.
So Rashi is saying very easy. He's saying the Eretz Yisrael is divided up into 3 zones according to Tanakama. Why? Because the beer here is not dependent on the beer in zone B, right? So zone A, B, and C, meaning Galil, Yarden, and Yehuda.
Why not?
Because that's it. That's just what it is.
That is good.
We'll answer that later on. You'll see why. You'll see why.
No,
Okay.
that's great. No, this was about to be the.
What was I saying?
This was about to be the
you want a hint for it? I'll tell you what the hint is. You'll see in a second. Go on to the next Rashi.
Shalosh arshos b'chol achas v'chas shechalokos b'minog kiyum pirsein shepir.
Right, so they're divided up based on the normal. Now, minhag is important here. The normal custom, the normal way, right?
Of the provinces.
Of how things are harvested. So in Yehuda, for example, what happened in subzone A happened at different time than subzone B. So Rashi says, therefore, I'm sorry. Shehluz minhag kiyum perisan sheperisan kolos shelzu kodemuzu. That's exactly our question.
Have to do it.
He's saying Rashi is saying factually what our question is. He's saying you have 3 subzones, and therefore in subzone A, it's plant. Let's say color. Let's say beer would be January 1st. In subzone B, February 1st. In subzone C, March 1st. But what do we go by for beer in the subzones? By the latest one. So of course the question is, so what do we need subzones for? Just say go by when the last produce is harvested. Oh, excuse me, is consumed by the animals. Okay, clear?
Right. So
Basically, why not both there?
What?
Why not both there or no? Okay.
Why not? So why do we have 3 arbatzos? Ho'il. So now we have 9. We have 9 zones, right? What's the purpose? Lemai hilchasa amru shlosh arbatzos beer v'sulo. Right. So why didn't you just say there are 3 areas for beer? What's this business of 9 zones? Okay, keep going. Oh, did we do that yet?
I think you just said it, right?
Yeah. Shayu ochlim b'chol achas.
Asam l'shalosh b'chol sheb'chol achas ki'ilu hein achas v'ochlim b'chol achas achas mehashalosh hachalokos l'vir ad sheyochla
Ha'achron sheb'shalos.
Artsosia ochlin b'Yehuda ad sheyichla achron sheb'shalosh artsosia. So
Rashi answers the question with the question because he says, "So why?
He's just restating the position.
I agree.
Oh. You get a Rashi.
Rashi doesn't ask the question. I asked the question, but I'm saying Rashi's answering the question with the question. He's saying, "Oh, so what do you have 3 subzones for?" To let you know that it goes by the last subzone. But then what do you need the subzones for? There's no need for them. All right, so go on.
Unless you're just saying.
See, but we're missing the fact. That's the problem. We're missing a huge fact.
Yeah, he's saying ABC is not an actual.
No. Trust me, you don't know the fact. Keep going. Monogamy.
Subzones related to each other.
What?
How the subzones related.
Okay. So what makes the zones related?
The order.
Which wait, and then go back to the Gemara. Menanimili. So how do you know this from? Back to the Gemara. Menanimili.
Back to the Gemara.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines from the top.
Amarav Chama Bar Okra Amarav Yossi Bar Chanina. How many people just said?
Amar Kra. The Torah says.
Amar Kra Vilav and Techa.
Vilachaya Shebratzecha. Okay, Kolzman.
Kolzman Shechaya Ochlos. Minasada Ochel
Hey, Ochel the Behema Shebabayis.
Ochel the Behema Shebabayis. Kula Lechaya.
Asher Basada.
Asher Basada. Kula.
Kala.
Kala and Techa. Minabayis.
Okay, so what does that mean? So it means very simple. So what does it learn from the Torah? So you have Chaya and Behema. What's the difference between a Chaya and a Behema?
Chaya is a tamed animal?
Opposite.
Oh.
Chaya is the wild animal. Behema is okay. So when the Chaya consumes that which is in the field, so that's your indication. That which is in my house, I now have to do beer for. Okay, that's not the Chiddush. Now go read the next line. So therefore, who cares? Okay, here it comes. Ugamiri. Here he comes.
It's Ein Chaya Shebi Yehuda.
Gedela.
Oh man, Gedela Al Pero Shebegalil.
The Ein Chaya Shebegalil.
Ein Chaya Shebegalil Gedela Al Pero Shebegalil.
What's Gedela?
Gadol. Big old wild bears.
Rabbi, can you just spoon feed us for this part?
No, look at Rashi. Look at Rashi.
We need Slifkin.
Doesn't.
This is. I started throwing my Gemara when I read the first line of Rashi. Ugamiri. Misoras me'avosenu. That's already dangerous.
What does it mean?
Means that there's a Misora we have, a
What do
tradition.
you mean? Rashi's whole parents.
No, just wait. Rashi never says that though. Why is he telling that to you? Because look at the next thing. The Ein Chaya Sheb Yehuda. Okay? Misrachekes kolkach lotzeis mi Yehuda legalil umegalil Yehuda aval yotzei hi megalil legalil umeyehuda lihuda. What does that mean? The question is, where did they come up with these zones from? Kids make up zones. So the answer is like this. What makes Galil different than Yehuda and Yehuda different than Ever Yarden? So animals from the Galil will only eat in the Galil area, but they won't wander to Yehuda. And Yehuda animals won't wander to Galil. And Ever Yarden animals won't wander to Yehuda, etc., etc., etc. Right? Okay, so there's some sort of Masara that they knew that animals, when it comes to wandering to find food, will stick to their zones. But that makes sense insofar as which zones are concerned.
Just
Right, the main zones, but the subzones
don't matter still.
Okay. The subzones, we're not so. Well, what happens in subzones?
They still don't matter.
Well, it'll be hard to imagine at this point that the animals don't go from.
No, it's already hard. No, it's already hard to imagine. Get in here.
To make it even worse, all right. Good luck with this. All right. Tosfos says, Perish Kuntras, top Tosfos. Okay. Ad shetichala achrona shebar tosea. Right, the hashalosh aratzos shebechol achas shavosein. Now what does that mean? Exactly what I did. In other words, according to Rashi's way of learning, Chazal took the map of Israel. All right, they divided up into 3 major zones, and then took out a marker. And I know, obviously, it's being but they took out a marker and just drew 2 horizontal lines through each vertical zone. Okay, vertical zones. Sorry, excuse me. 2 vertical lines through the horizontal zones. Right, so they just cut it into parts. 3 equal parts. They took the map out, and they said, okay, bam, 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 bam. Clear? Okay.
They have like a map here with all denoted out and everything.
I tried to, where? Oh, really? Oh, really? I was just looking for a map.
Yeah.
Okay, you'll show it to me afterwards. I want to see that. So 1 second. So, actually, you know what? Dim einam chalukos lama shone shalosh ratzos b'chol achas. Okay? All right. What's he asking? All right. What's he asking? No one knows. The Od Kasha, Lari, Ditznam Parak Test the Shvius, Shlosh Ratzos Labir, Vishalosh Ratzos Bicholachas Achi Kala Achrona Shaba. Alright, Rashimon Omer, Lo Amru Shlosh Ratzos Ela Bihuda, Miklal de Latanakama, Shlosh Ratzos, Chalukos Shekol Achas Chaluk Labir. Rashimon Nami Modelahu Bihuda. So you say, overall, what's he asking? Very simple. The question we asked before, which is that if you're going to tell me these lands are divided up evenly, so then what's the purpose of having subzones? That's his question. His main question is why do they have these subzones? Okay, so then what's he going to do? What does Tosfos always do when you're faced with these situations? Change the... Well, even better. Change the facts. Okay?
Oh my god.
So you thought it meant 3 actual land subzones. What does it mean instead? Not land subzones.
3 water stations?
Nope. The giveaway was in the Mishnah. Okay? Lachein yesh lomar, the achron sheba Hainu peros shebehar achi chala achron shebehar. Uperos shebe almakim achi chala achron shebamakim. V'chein b'shvela achi chala achron shebeshvela. So what does that mean? What are the 3 subzones? How do you look at Eretz Yisrael now according to Tosfos' way of learning? Tosfos says it's very simple. You have 3 main zones. Okay, you have Galil, Yehuda, and Yarden. You also have 3
main zones.
Types. No, well, what do you mean? Okay, you have another kind of 3 main zones, which are Har, Shvela, and Emet. And now what do? You mash it together, and now you get 9 zones.
This with this, and
no,
this,
it's different. It's different. This was the original way of learning was you have 3 main zones. Listen. Before you had 3 main zones, and then within each main zone, 3 subzones. So saying no.
So each subzone
Shalosh means not subzones. You have 6, so to speak, or 3 things you take into account on each side. You have 3 major areas of Eretz Yisrael, and then you have 3 what?
3
types.
Landscapes.
Yeah.
Be careful using that word yet. That's the word I'm looking for.
Different animals.
You have 3 topographies. You have Har, Shvel, and Emet. Now, what do? Plug that in. So guess what? Not only do animals not migrate from Galil to Yehuda, but they also don't migrate from where?
Mountains
to valleys.
Oh, so each subzone is a...
So now you understand why you have 3 subzones.
Shkoyach, that's great stuff.
One more fact you have to know, all right? If everyone's brains are exploding, I apologize, but you want to be. We'll review all this tomorrow. Oh, I love this stuff. But one second. No, you're working it right now, okay?
You said there's no missing that. Oh.
No, this is the last fact you have to know, okay? Well, it's the Aruch HaShulchan's, he proposes the following, okay? Yaakov asked the right question. Well, one second. According to Shimon, how could he deny the fact that there are mountains and valleys and plains in the Galil? I've been to the Galil, right? There are mountains and plains and valleys there, all right? So how can you argue in Tanakh about that? Oh, so what does Aruch HaShulchan say? He says that no, in Eretz Yehuda, don't say anything, Yaakov. In Eretz Yehuda, no, of course, the Galil and Avery Garden have mountains and valleys and plains, of course. Just that the ones in Yehuda are
Parno.
what?
Parno.
Well, what? Bigger.
Oh my god.